Hello, how are you doing today, MOM Insiders? Good to have you on our Tuesday morning ad clinic after a week off with our spring break last week here in Texas. So glad to be back and up and ready to roll. We've got 4 submissions today. Excuse me. And I know that our first submittor is in the process of dialing in. I don't see him on yet. It's William Davey. So perhaps we'll bump him to number 2, and we'll go to number, we'll take number 2 as number 1, which is, let's see here. Oh, nope, there's William. We'll give him just a second. I see he's getting on here now. Okay. And, all right. William, I see you on here. We're ready to roll. What I need you to do is to hit your audio pin, which in your specific case is #42#. So if you'll please hit #42#, we'll be ready to go. There we go. Hey, William. Whoops. There you go. William, I should be able to talk to you now.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. All of a sudden, when I got on the call, I've got a cough in my throat, but I think I'll be okay. Let's see what we've got today to look at from you. We're going to look at an appointment card. Is that correct?
No. I'm with Holco, and it looks like you got Fred's Best pulled up for the appointment card.
Well, hey, how you doing? This is Brian then, right?
Yes, this is Brian.
Okay, that's really odd because I just unmuted William. Well, we'll talk to you. I'm just trying to figure out on my system why it would do that. That I see that you're muted and he's not. Nevertheless, I've got you, so we're going to talk to you, okay? You still with me? Nope. Okay, let's try again. All right. Working on it. All right. Perhaps I gave the wrong audio pin. I'm not sure here. I'm not sure what this is. I've never seen this before. Brian, I see that you're on here, but I can't unmute you for some reason. Let me try William. Okay, William, I see that you are in the process here. This is bizarre. Oh, technology, I love it. Okay, William, I see that you are dialed in, but not unmutable. I show that you still need to hit your #42# audio pin. Okay. Well, this is awkward. Let me try something else here. I'm going to test you, Chase. Chase, are you there? Okay, William, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Is this William?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Now, before I start talking to you, let me troubleshoot this just a little bit further. I had unmuted you before, but Brian actually became unmuted instead of you. And now Brian, I cannot get his line to unmute. So, Brian, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, if you'll just hang up and dial back in, and then we'll get to you second. And I'm hoping that by you hanging up and dialing back in, whatever issue is causing a hang-up, it will be reset. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and talk to William, who was actually first on the list anyway. So let me just check one more thing here. Okay. All right, let's go. William, tell me what we're looking at here.
Hey, good morning, Rich. I'm sitting with Susie. We're looking at here. This is an attempt to do a first-time customer discount card. This is something that we envision being handed out to prospective clients in the field when we're doing what we refer to as forward marketing, a canvassing program, to give a canvasser this as an appointment confirmation and to build some value with the client. So this is something that's been used successfully by another company that we know of, and perhaps we could make this work for us. So that's
okay.
the thought.
Am I looking on my screen right now? I have the card. Is this the totality of the card, or is there a backside? Is there anything else?
There's a backside to it as well. This is what our printer was able to come up with under penalty of death. They had to have it ready to be submitted for our last ad call, and they still haven't finished doing the mock-up that I asked them to do. So this is what we have so far. Okay,
and help me understand what is the specific use of this, please.
Again, this is for in the field. We're doing door-to-door marketing. For someone who doesn't know us, we don't have an appointment with them. Forward marketers, their purpose is to set an appointment for us to come by and talk with them about product, windows, door siding, or roofing. And what we're going to be able to do on this is offer an incentive here to say, as a first-time client, you're going to get a discount with our company. And then, so putting the appointment on there, what we're trying to do is, and the challenge we're having is, we've got someone who does a great job of getting us appointments, but the cancellation rate of those appointments is very high. So we thought that this could be something to help solidify those appointments and give them a reason to say, okay, well, there's something in it for me. Perhaps we could, we should stay with this or see these people, or kind of formalizes it, so to speak.
Okay, so in other words, you've got people that are canvassing, they're setting appointments, the appointment stick rate is too low, so you're trying to find a way to remedy that, correct?
That's correct, Rich.
Okay, and the methodology that we're looking at here is when they set the appointment, you give them this card, you write the date of the appointment on it, you write a promotional discount code that ostensibly the canvasser writes on there, and then they are to hand this card to the person at the time of the appointment. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, what else are you giving to them at the time of the appointment set besides this card?
Nothing really. They were previously getting just a business card from the canvasser, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, now the other side of this card that you weren't able to get mocked up in time, what is going to be on it?
Well, maybe on that, the idea was some value building of who we are, what we do, what we offer, and they could see the services that we provide. Talking about our warranty, what differentiates us from the masses, and then some credibility building. I mean, it's not a lot of space there, but some things about I was questioning whether we should put a Better Business Bureau rating or maybe so many reviews, or I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss there. I want to do what's effective, but what I want to do is build credibility on the back. Okay, good. Now let me ask you this: so in the past you've been doing this canvassing and handing out nothing. Is that correct? That's correct, sir.
And how long have you been doing it that way?
For
a long time?
Yeah, 10 years.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that you hand them something would be a good idea. In fact, I'm shocked that you don't hand them anything other than a business card. And whatever your appointment ratio is, the stick rate, you should be grateful for it, because that's amazing that people are keeping their appointments. I mean, look at what's happening, okay? Let's just understand this from the client's perspective. The guy's sitting there with a bag of Cheetos watching Family Guy when his doorbell rings. He comes over there, your guy's standing there, and through the miracle of the grace of the Almighty, he agrees to see your person, right?
Right.
I mean, that's really a pretty major accomplishment that the guy just said yes. The appointment is set for a specific date and time, true enough?
Yes.
And then your guy hands him a business card, and he goes back to the Family Guy. I mean, look at everything that can go wrong in this situation. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong. And I think that this card is a step in the right direction, but what I'm going to actually recommend that you do is take this to the next step, probably about 4 or 5 steps beyond where you're going with this here even, okay? Because the reality is this, that guy who was watching Family Guy, you've interrupted him for a minute, you've gotten his attention for a minute. We've got some scenarios where people set an appointment just to get you off their doorstep because they don't have the heart to say no to somebody face to face. But you've also got this issue of people that are just kind of, you know, they look up and 10 minutes later and they're like, crap, what did I just do?
Right.
So what I would recommend is that you do one of a couple of things. The format is not super important. You know, I think it would be an interesting situation to be able to use. Anytime I'm in a face-to-face scenario, I love using the big bills. And you've seen my big bills and heard me talk about the big bills, right?
Yes, sir.
The reason I like the big bill so much is that it breaks people's state of paying attention. It's an activator. It gets them out of alpha mode and into beta mode, and it gets them to say to themselves, hey, you know, let me pay attention to this for a second. And if you give a guy a big bill, see, one of the problems with this little teeny card here is it doesn't tell them hardly anything more than the business card does. In fact, it doesn't even have your contact information. Perhaps that goes on the back. What is the size of this card?
This would be like a 4x6.
4x6, like a postcard, basically, a small postcard.
Correct.
Here's the problem with it. Number one, it doesn't say how much the savings is. It's got this very vague guaranteed savings. Let's say that you used a big bill. And let's say that on the back of the big bill you put $1,000. And let's say that you put on the other side of the bill, number one, your identity that filled the top, let's say, maybe 75 or 80% of the card, okay?
Okay.
And then underneath that, you put some information about the discount, the promotion, how it works. And you're probably sitting over there going, well, geez, I don't know, I want to give a guy $1,000. Well, it's real easy. You make it however you want. You're in charge. You can do anything you want. So, for instance, you might put, I'm just giving you a suggestion here. I'm not saying, hey, do this. But I'm helping you see how flexible you can be with this. So you put $1,000 on the card, and then on the bottom of the other side, you put something like this voucher is worth up to $1,000 off, 10% of any job you do up to $1,000 maximum. So now a guy walks in and he does, you know, let's say a $6,000 job, and so you give him 10% of that, $600. So you've got to work your pricing so it can handle the discount. And you say, well, I don't want to give a guy $600 on a $6,000 job. Fine, make it 5%, make it 2%, make it anything. It's easy to manipulate those numbers, but here's what it does. It gives somebody something interesting to look at, and it also is kind of interesting because if you let's say that it's 10% up to $1,000, and you say, look, here's this big bill. It's a discount. You just got to present it at the time of the appointment, and it's worth up to $600. Well, guess what? Or it's up to $1,000. Guess what number the guy has in his mind that it's worth? 1,000. It's 1,000. Now we don't want to trick him, and we don't want to avoid the fact that it's actually 10%. But he's going to get that 1,000 stuck in his brain, and it's going to be on that thing so big, and he's going to go back to his Family Guy holding this big freaking 17-inch $1,000 bill that it's going to interrupt his state a little bit. You can also put a spot on there for the appointment time. You can put a spot on there for the promotional code. You got room to do anything.
Sure. Okay.
I'm going to try to show you something here that's similar. If you give me just a second, I'm going to pull it up here on my screen. This is not, whoa, where'd it go? This is not a big bill.
I don't see anything yet.
Well, that's because I've got my screen frozen here, and you're not going to see it for just a second. Hang on. Let me see if I can find this bad boy. I got to remember what I'm looking for here. Give me a second. Client called. Okay, now I've got it. Just give me a second. This is the nature of this call sometimes. I've just got to find things that come up that make sense.
Take all the time you need.
Freelight. This is a flyer I did for a company called Freelight. Now, this is an 8.5 by 11.
All right, I don't see it on my screen.
It's coming. I'm still looking for it.
Oh, okay. I thought you already had it up. So just let me know what's up. No problem. I went through the archives and saw a number of things that you've done, and I was at your seminar and I saw that the big bill.
Okay. Now, this is the flyer. This is not a big bill, but my designer could make this into a big bill in about 10 seconds, okay? You follow me? But here's what I want to show you. On this side of the quote-unquote big bill, we've got our headline with our photo, with our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I scroll down, look what I've got over here. Visit our website, freelightaz.com, price quotes, customer references, customer reviews, all the stuff that we want them to see. We let them know, hey, you can see this stuff on our website. A guide to replacing your windows, how to choose a contractor. You know, the identity is up here. We find out what you want, make recommendations, step back, and let you decide what we include, what we leave out. You know, and then we've got this offer up to $500 off, offering up to 10%. See, that's the same offer I was just telling you about, except for it's $500. So we could put this on the back of a $500 bill, and then at the bottom of this flyer, you know, we could put something on there like, you know, your appointment is set for a certain time and date. Here's the promotional code. Here's what you need to do to prepare for your appointment, etc.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that sounds great. Looks good.
In fact, here's a big bill version of this. Okay. I'm gonna make this so you can see the whole thing on the screen. It's gonna be really small, so you won't be able to necessarily read it. Let's see. How do I do this? Well, I can't get it to look like I want, but you get the idea here. See this?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so there's a $500 bill.
Cool.
So again, this is something that we can put together real easy. It's just based on your identity. We put the website on there so people can go, whoa, no, I don't want that to show up. So we can, you know, give them some things to be looking at between the appointment. What I would do is customize this, though. If you're going to be using this in canvassing, I would have this section at the bottom. You see here where it has this up to $500 off on the left side?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me back up and say this again. You see the section here at the bottom that's blue?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would delete that, but in a section about that size and in a section that has about that much prominence so it's easy to see, I would put, you know, appointment details. Your appointment is set for a certain date, certain time. Here's your code. And then I might explain how the $500 off works. And I might move, you know, the logo and phone number up to where the $500 off is and kind of transpose those a little bit. It would be an easy fix. We can do that for you. But this is how it works. Now, when the guy goes back into his house, he's sitting there with a $500 bill in his hand going, oh, this is really cool. And he's, number one, he knows your identity. You're not just some guy that showed up on his door that he knows nothing about. Number two, he sees the offer, so it's prominent. It's in his hands. Number three, he's got a way to get additional information, your website and all that information, specifically what's on your website is shown there. So this is where I'd go with this thing.
Okay. Point well taken. That's great. We'll turn that into that's the production idea. We know it works. And yeah, and the size of these, what do you recommend for the size, Rich?
This is 17 inches by 7.3 inches. It's big.
It doesn't get hidden in all the other stuff they have, right?
Well, it forces somebody to deal with it. It's so big, they're like, holy crap. But it's not just big. I mean, we could just make it the same size, but the fact that it's the big bill makes it not just big, but it also makes it cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's not just like you're handing the guy a big piece of paper that's kind of a pain in the butt for everybody. You're handing him a big old piece of paper By the way, it's cardstock, so this is thick. It doesn't get bent real easy. And it's cool. So this thing has a ton of value. The other thing that's cool about it is you can actually hang these on people's doors if they're not there when you canvas. I would.
Okay, just like you have a knockout and hang it on the door, I guess?
Now, the one that you'd want to hang on the door, you might want to have two versions. The one on your door doesn't say, hey, your appointment is set for a certain time.
Right. Okay.
Or let me give you another idea. Maybe you could have one that is set for a certain, you could have one, to make it easier to manage, you could create one singular piece, and it could basically look exactly like this one. But then what you could do is you could create separately a sticky pad, Post-it notes, right? You can order these off the internet. They're not that expensive. And it could say something like your appointment time, and then it could have the time, it could have, you know, your phone number, your web address on it. Not all the information about your web address, but just your phone number and your web address. And it could say, you know, do this before your appointment, visit our website, make a list of any questions, you know, whatever. We'd have to think through those a little bit. You know, download our contractor standards guide off of our website. Here's the web address, and then you could hand them you could put this Post-it on. You just stick it on the back when they set an appointment, right? Okay. Then your guy could just carry in his pocket a pad of these things, and it's 7.3 inches wide. So maybe you make them only 5 inches wide by maybe 3 inches tall, and then when he sets an appointment, he pulls that out, fills it out, sticks it on the bottom of this deal, and says, here, you know, here's your appointment reminder. Hands him the flyer. It's freaking cool. Meanwhile, when he knocks on the next guy's door and he's not there, he takes a little piece of tape or, you know, whatever you can use to put it on the guy's door, and you stick this $500 bill on a guy's door. He gets home and he goes, what the crap is this? Oh, this is as cool as what this is.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, if you print these things, if you print them in quantity, they're not that expensive. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. These are, if you only do 100 or 500 of these, they're pretty expensive. But if you print a couple thousand of them, they really aren't that expensive. And you think about it in terms of canvasser knocks a door, how many people does he actually talk to as a percentage? The answer is, you know, whatever it is, 20%, 40%, some percentage lower than 50, surely, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so now you've invested the time and effort to have that guy show up. Let's say that you can get these printed for, say, 40 cents each or something like that in bulk. And out of 100 doors, he only talks to 30 people, and on 70, he leaves a 40-cent hanger, costs you $28. How many jobs do you have to get for it to make up for itself? Well, the answer is, if he did 1,000 doors and hung 700 of these, that's $280. You know, do you think you'll get one call off of 700 of these?
Right.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think you will.
An idea for the door hangers is keep this one exactly the way it is, and when they talk to the person, obviously they're going to write in the appointment time. And for the people who are not home, instead of making a second one, because like you said, it becomes cumbersome for them to carry, is have a sticker that says, sorry we missed you, you know, give us a call, you know, something to that effect.
Boom.
And you just put the
it.
sticker on the one that you didn't see.
I like it. We let the Post-it notes do the heavy lifting.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna write an article called Post-it Note Marketing. I love it.
That's great.
No, I like that. I mean, it's a good idea. You know, here's why. Because now you've got this cool door hanger that gets people's attention, but now you've got this other thing, this Post-it note that demands attention as well, right? So it's cool. I like it. It's awesome.
Very good. Okay. Well,
take my job. I'll not needed here anymore.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, do it. And you know what? Here's the cool thing. If you've got a home show package with us, or if you've got a super robust proximity marketing package with us, we're going to do this for you anyway for free.
I think we're going to get proximity marketing. So cool. So that'll be ideal. We're still of course, everything relates back to the identity and the website we're working after. So
yeah, you get all that worked out, like we talked about on our call a couple weeks ago, and this stuff will all fall together really quick. You know what? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make a wild prediction, and then I want you to come back and tell me after a month the results. I'm going to predict that if you do what we just talked about, that your number of appointments will double.
That's great prediction. That's
and I'm going to predict that your stick rate for appointments doubles as well. So in other words, if your cancellation rate, what is your cancellation rate now?
Geez, we're seeing it's like 2.5 out of 5, so about 50%.
Okay, 50%. I'm going to predict that it goes to from 50% to 25%.
So we've seen 4 times as many people, which is great. We're seeing
correct.
Double the number of appointments at double the appointment seen rate. That's fantastic. That'd be a godsend.
I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna happen. This isn't like, oh well, hey, I'm just gonna say a bunch of crap and whatever happens. This will happen. It's
That's
inevitable.
great.
But here's what I want you to do. I want you to commit to doing it the right way, like we just talked about. Get the hangers, put them on every door. This will work out for you really, really well. Also, part and parcel of that is you can also use this now in your canvassing approach. Not just after you get the door open and you start talking to them. Here's what you do with this door hanger and canvassing. You walk up to the guy's door. Here's how I coach canvassers. Walk all the way up to the door to where both of your toes are touching the door, and then take 2 good-sized steps back, left foot back, right foot back, and then stand with both of your feet together, okay? So you're 2 good-sized steps away from the door. You ring the doorbell, then you step back because you got to be able to reach the doorbell. When the person opens the door, before anything else is said, you take 1 step forward, so you're not invading their space still. You with me? You extend your arm fully. Now, your arm fully extended is going to be about halfway to the door, but now you're holding a 17-inch long $500 bill side up, and you put it out and you say, and there's this human reflex that causes people to take it, because when you hand somebody something, the reflex is you grab it no matter what it is. And when it's something big and cool, you're even more likely to take it, and you hand it to them and you say, I'd like to give you $500. Now, before anything else has happened, before any kind of anything happens, you've broken the ice far more effectively than with pretty much any other door approach you can think of.
That's great.
So there, we're going to double it again. You're going to get 6 times more appointments.
Wow. That's great. That's certainly in terms of differentiating ourselves right off the bat. The people in some of the neighborhoods that we're hitting, and these poor homeowners being hit, a lot.
What are your canvassers saying now? What's the first thing they say? The guy opens the door and they say what?
Hi, I'm Samantha.
Yeah, hi, I'm Samantha from Fred's Best.
Then what? Then what?
And then we're here working in the neighborhood. We're working in your neighborhood, and we've noticed that people are having problems with.
Now, you know what people are thinking while that's all going on?
What's that?
They're thinking, number one, I've got a bag of Cheetos and a Family Guy that I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Number 2, anything I can think of to get you the freaking crap off of my porch is what I'm thinking of right now.
Right.
Right.
I'm not even hearing what you're saying.
Right.
You're over there saying something's coming out of your mouth, and I audibly hear something's coming out of your mouth, and all I'm processing is, how do I get rid of you? Oh my gosh, I wish I would have, looked through the peephole before I opened the door.
Right.
So now they open the door, and they have all that negative emotion overcoming them, and you reach out with this really cool-looking $500 bill, and you say, hey, I'd like to give you $500. And the guy goes, what? I don't know if you've ever studied Tony Robbins before, the big, gigantic head dude that walks on fire.
Yeah.
He's kind of a weirdo, but he calls this a pattern interrupt. And he talks about it in psychotherapy. What they'll do, he says, they'll lay down on the couch, right? And he's trying to cure a guy of a phobia. And he says the guy will come in for his session, and he'll lay down on the couch, and he'll say, okay, how's it going? And the guy will start to talk about, I've had this problem, and I'm having this issue. and he says that the therapist will look at him and he'll clap his hands and go, "Hey, we haven't started yet. I didn't ask you about that. I just asked you how it's going." And the guy jerks out of his state, and he's like, "Whoa, oh, okay," and suddenly he's fine all of a sudden.
That's great.
This is called a pattern interrupter, okay? So the bill becomes your pattern interrupter. It gets him out of this pattern of, I hate you, I'm trying to get you off my porch, oh my gosh, why did I open the door? Family Guy is waiting, Cheetos are waiting, everything else is on hold, and now he's looking at this bill going, hey, what's this? This is cool. Now, that being said, he still knows you're a canvasser. He still knows you're trying to sell him something. So it's not like people just say, oh, hey, come into my home, I love you. But it does a great job of getting through. That's why when we use this methodology with home shows, our average number of appointments set is triple, literally, what the company got last year not using this methodology.
Wow, that's impressive.
Now, you take this out to the canvassing, and you get a company that's diligent at canvassing already, like you are, and I'm telling you, I want your written testimonial after you do this, because it will warrant it.
Count on it. That's
okay. Good. Thank you.
So, you're welcome. That's great. We had submitted, I know, and I appreciate the all the time. I had submitted as well. Unfortunately, the last minute to Judy this morning. The current Angie's List ad that we have teed up. The drop dead date on that is March 20th. Do you have a second to take a look at that? We had talked about that last ad call, and we made some adjustments based on what you had suggested. I'd like you to take a look at what we have, and we're going to make some final tweaks, again, if you have the time.
Is this it right here?
That's the one. Yes, sir.
Okay, number one, get rid of that picture behind this thing. Oh, my gosh. Here's what you've just done.
Get rid.
You've made this into an optical illusion.
Too hard to look at, okay?
Oh, my God. This number one, I've got a big issue with background photographs behind text anyway, but this is like a worst case scenario. You've got vertical lines with the windows and horizontal lines with the text that basically somebody looks at it and the brain explodes. So you're probably going to get sued for liability for making people's brain explode.
Okay. All right. Point noted.
Okay. That being said, if you change that, I think you'll be okay. I'm not a huge fan of this font, but if you're in a deadline and it's quick, this is a good place to start.
What do you prefer?
I don't know, something else.
Okay.
I mean, this is kind of a heavy font, a little bit harder to read. I like something that's generally a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to read. Let me see if I can show you a couple things here. There's a good font. You see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
It looks less cheesy. It looks less cartoony. It looks less in your facey.
Okay. Got it. These are the electricians.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we saw those electricians, by the way, the ones in Alexandria.
Oh, their truck.
You saw the woman truck?
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
Yeah. Liked it a lot.
They still owe me a picture of that. I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, okay, same thing here. You see this font? This is a font that we use a lot. I don't actually happen to know what the name of this font is. I probably ought to find out, but it's just a little bit easier to read.
Sure it is. Uh-huh.
And when you've got, I look at your ad as essentially a billboard. It's a little teeny billboard in a magazine, but it's pretty much a billboard. So we just want it to be a little bit easier to read. So that's my recommendation. I like the headline. I'd definitely get rid of the photo in the background, and I'd probably change that font.
All right, last question. The $250 off for all Angie's List members, does that have value? Is that worthless? What do you think?
Well, I think it's got value. At the end of the day, people always run this evaluation on stuff. All things being equal, I want to get the best price I can get. Now, that's different than I want to get the best price I can get no matter what. So we can introduce other issues that help people see that the value has more to do with just a low price. But at the end of the day, people are conditioned to like and to take advantage of dollars off offers. So I don't have a problem with it at all. The area where I have a problem is when that's really the only thing that we're talking about consistently all the time in marketing. It's just not really my thing. You can do it and it can work, and we can show examples of companies that it works for, but over a long time when that's the main thing that companies only do, they then peg themselves as a price company, which I'm not a big fan of.
I got you.
But,
yeah, build the value.
In the context of this ad, the positioning of it, the amount of it, the rationale of it, Angie's List members, I think it's good.
Very good, sir.
But I would want you, if you don't mind, can you get this ad redesigned and then send it over to me, because this will make a great before and after example of, hey, look how hard this was to read. Now look how easy it is to read.
Well, yes, sir. And if you remember last week when we looked at it, it had the old nasty window. It was the before picture. I mean, we hate your windows was the headline.
Yeah.
We gravitated to this, which is we're moving in the right direction. But I agree. All right, well, that's great advice, Rich, and certainly appreciate your time on this. We're going to get this thing done up and back over to you as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Thanks, William. And I'm sorry, who was the other person on the line?
Susie.
Susie. Okay, thanks, Susie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
All right,
you.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, now we're going to see if we can get Brian on here. Huh. All right, Brian, I'm going to do something crazy here because I can't get you unmuted still. But hang on. This is going to be a little bit crazy. All right, Brian, are you there? All right, Brian, I'm going to give you a different PIN. If you'll please input the following PIN, #40# into your phone, please. Okay, now let's see if this works. Brian, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I had to do a total end around on my system. I've never seen this before where it won't let me unmute somebody who's dialed in on a phone. So you're now a panelist on our webinar. Congratulations. You've risen through the ranks very quickly.
Well, thank you. I feel I'm in good company.
Okay, well, at least we got you on here. I'm just glad that it worked. Let me pull up your ad here. Okay. Is this right?
Yes.
Okay, and then there's something called March Special.
Yes, the March Special is a web banner.
Okay, what do you want to talk about first?
I guess this one, since we have it pulled up.
Okay, and I'm sorry, which one is on your screen right now?
I'm looking at the magazine ad that has the replacement contractor magazine cover.
Got it. You may see it change momentarily and then change back. Don't worry about that. I've got the magazine cover up now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Okay, this particular ad is going in a high-end glossy magazine that is distributed to households over $150,000, and it sits in a lot of doctors' offices and places like that, and it gets delivered to a lot of businesses. And they're a good local company to do business with, and this is a 2/3 page vertical bleed ad is what it's called. And so the idea is in the magazine itself there will be content that is written to the left, and then this will be on the right edge of the page so that it interrupts someone's reading is the idea.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit different on my screen so that we can see the whole ad at once. There we go. Okay, so we can see that if we were to extend this by another third, it would be the size of a typical page. Gotcha. Okay, so I guess your general question is, so what do you think about this? Is that right?
Yeah, basically, I just want some feedback and possible critique because this is an ad we've submitted. It's actually been printed into one magazine, and there's another publication dropping next month. And so if there were adjustments or anything that you suggest, or if we need to retool the whole thing, I'd like to find that out now so we can go back to the drawing board or tweak it as needed.
Well, so here's the thing, Brian. I'm not going to say, hey, this ad is bad or you need to get rid of it. I'd like to explore different options, though. Okay.
Okay.
The option that I always like to start with is to have an identity-based advertisement. Now, what you've done here is you've created a social proof-based advertisement. Now, there's a lot worse things you could do than that. So let's start off by saying I'm not looking at this going, I can't believe you put this dumb ad together. I'm not saying that at all. I think this has merit, and I think this definitely can work, okay?
Okay.
I mean, anytime you've got the cover of a magazine, that's pretty impressive. A couple of negatives potentially, though. Number one, people probably don't know what Replacement Contractor magazine is. And so as they look at this, whereas for you, number one, the magazine is very, very familiar because you've seen it for years. Number two, the fact that you're on it and you've been named on the cover and the Contractor of the Year, all of these things mean a tremendous amount to you because you've been around it. And at a glance, when you see this cover, it gives you this entire set of feelings and meaning that is unique to you. Whereas the average person sitting in the doctor's office flipping through a magazine while they're waiting to get their tetanus shot looks at it and says, okay, I don't really know what this is. Let me study it for a minute maybe and figure out what it is. But there's not that instantaneous recognition of, hey, this is awesome. So that's the first thing. Proud to be nationally recognized as the Contractor of the Year. That's good. Obviously, that's good. Here's again, the approach that I'm interested in taking is more of an identity approach than a social proof approach. And I'm going to keep couching it for you because I want you to hear me loud and clear. I'm not saying this is horrible, don't do it. I can't believe you already wasted your money on this. I don't have a problem with this ad. I want to explore maybe making it even better, okay?
Okay.
By the way, there's a big difference because a lot of times we get ads on here that I look at and go, really? But that's not this ad, okay? So from an identity standpoint, I've not worked through your identity with you. I'm not sure what it is, but whatever it is, I mean, you looked at this last one that we did on the flyer for the, let's see, something like this. And I'm not saying, hey, it's a big bill because obviously it's not. But we've got this identity. So let's take a look at this and let's imagine this now being the magazine ad for this company, okay?
Okay.
And it's interesting because this ad, this flyer actually fits that same general size. It's a little bit taller, a little bit narrower, not so wide as a normal page, right?
Right.
Introducing the easy, no hassle, no pressure way to buy windows and skylights in Phoenix. Well, I've communicated something very, very concise and easy to understand to the reader. Windows, doors, skylights without the long, drawn-out sales meetings and confusing choices, free from pressure. We find out what you want, make recommendations, then step back and let you decide. Here's what we include. Here's what we don't include. Here's some text that you can read if you feel like you need some text. If you don't want to read the text, then that's okay. You can see that we've got a website. We've got an offer. And maybe an offer isn't the right thing for this particular publication, but I'm just trying to give you a general feel. Obviously, this is their identity. This is obviously not your identity. But whatever your identity is or turns out to be, I'm always in favor of letting people know what it is because that's what sells people is the identity.
Okay.
Are you tracking with me?
I am. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, here's where we get into a little bit of a discussion. So on the one hand, we go, okay, identity, I get it. That makes sense. Obviously, there's a huge percentage of MYM Insider members that are MYM Insider members because they understand this concept of identity. They're relying on us to help them create it, et cetera, et cetera. True enough?
Yes.
Then, especially for some higher-end companies like yourself, there's a discussion that happens like this. Well, you know, we've kind of got this image that we're trying to uphold. And this image requires that we have nice looking pictures, that we communicate through design, that we're higher end. And, you know, I think all of these words are good because they say good things, but they're kind of getting in the way of us presenting this image based on, you know, these beautiful pictures. And, you know, there's validity to that. And I don't want you to hear me say, well, you know, that's dumb, because it's not dumb. It's valid. But I think there's a balance that can be struck there. I think you can make something look nice, and you can still include what I would call identity information. So I'm going to encourage you to not be afraid of some text, because here's what you've got to understand about text. When text is properly executed, even if it's quote unquote a lot of text, it's actually very easy for people to read and understand, because we use the headlines, the subheadlines, the further subheadlines, the section headers, the bullet points, the call-out boxes. We make it very easy for people to pick out and choose the important things that we want them to know. And again, this flyer is a good example of that. We've got a headline that stands out. It's very easy to understand. We've got text that supports that headline that makes it more clear even what we're talking about. And then over here on the right-hand side, what we include, what we don't include, what we leave out is even more details about what we've already started talking about. So it sort of flows the conversation to where people can draw a conclusion that says, wow, they don't just say that they're the easy choice. They actually have led me to believe that that's true. So just keep that in mind. I've had this issue with a client recently that's very high-end remodeler, you know, additions, kitchens, and things like that. And their web page is full-blown photo. It's wall-to-wall, beautiful photo. And so I came in with my typical copy talking about their design build program and how that's beneficial to the client. And they said, hey, this is great, but we don't like it on our photo. Well, at some point, we've got to explain to people who we are, what we do, what we're all about. So take that into consideration. I don't think, you know, you might try two different versions and see if you get phone calls off of one versus the other.
Let me ask you this, just to make sure that I understand how to execute the identity-based ad properly. It sounds to me like you want to make a fairly bold, concise headline, and then support that headline with properly written copy and text below. Am I understanding the execution of that properly?
Correct. Let me show you some website sketches on the screen right now. Now, these are just mock-ups, so they're not necessarily the final version. Let me give you an idea. Okay? And keep in mind as you look at these are all specific to these companies, okay? So don't judge these identities based on, hey, I wouldn't say that, because this is not your company. This is their company, right?
All right, I see.
What I want you to evaluate is the message clear? You know, whatever the message happens to be, is it clear? This one says, when you only deal directly with the owner, you can be sure the job will be done 100% right every single time, no exceptions. And then a subheadline, I'm the one who sells the job. I'm the one who oversees the crews. I'm the one who eliminates problems. I'm the one who cares. And then as you look to the right, it says 5 advantages to dealing directly with the owner. And then we can quickly pull out the blue subheaders, the bullet points: no miscommunication, lower prices, cleaner and friendlier, no arm twisting, and lifetime warranties. Then it says it's easy to afford excellence. So just by reading those headers and bullet points, here's what we take out of this ad. In this case, it's a website, but we can easily put this into an ad, right? What we can take out of this is, I'm going to be dealing with the owner, that there's definitive advantages to doing business with the owner. Namely, he cares. He's totally involved all the time. I've got direct access. The price is going to be lower. There's going to be no, you know, finger pointing and those kinds of games. Get rid of that thing. And it's just easy to understand, okay? Let's look at another one. Oh, let's look at this one. This is actually the one I was just talking about a minute ago. Our unique, all under one roof design and build process makes remodeling and custom building truly fast, easy, and pleasant. When the design and construction are both handled by one firm, all of the pricing ambiguity, communication gaps, finger pointing, construction delays, cost overruns, and unpleasant surprises just go away. Now, you might look at the text over there on the left and say, wow, that's a lot of text. It doesn't really matter. If the people who are the most interested are going to read it, the people that aren't as interested, we don't care if they read it. We've already communicated to them our main point. Let's look at another one. Home improvement with a woman's touch. I can guarantee you a pleasant, stress-free, no-pressure project from the first sales call to the final walkthrough. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Male contractors seem to want to hurry up and get it done. I'm more interested in making sure you absolutely love your project. Butler's articles of faith, feel at ease, no regrets, no sales pressure ever. Firm quote in writing before starting, no surprises. All workers and staff background checked. White glove service, everything double checked. Twice the labor warranty of others. You see how this flows into a conclusion? So we make a statement, and then we help people to believe that the statement is true. You with me?
Yep.
Just one more. I know you kind of get the idea, but let's just look at one more for fun, okay? Let's look at okay, this is a company that had a slider at the top of their website. We kept it. It's not what we do, it's how we do it. Home of the complete basement solution. And that slides to 9 different slides. But then below it is the real identity. The only basement finishing company in Michigan that only uses materials, processes, and systems specifically designed for humid, mold-prone environments like your basement. Installed in about 2 weeks. Full lifetime warranty. Drywall simply won't cut it for basements. Mold. Need to blow it up just a teeny bit. Mold-proof wall panels aren't enough. You've got to use mold-proof, water-resistant walls, ceilings, moldings, floorings, and post-wrap. Plus, you must have a dehumidifier. Then we look over to the right. We do not price match. Let's be honest. Just about every bid you'll get from drywall companies will be cheaper than ours. Don't be fooled. Your basement must be equipped to handle moisture. Insist on following the following to avoid mold. So we've just communicated to somebody, you know what, you're going to get cheaper bids, but they're not going to protect you against mold. So that you don't want that.
It's preemptive cost conditioning, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you get the idea. It's really clear-cut what we're trying to say with this company, what you can expect. Remember, the definition of identity is communicate with power, precision, and passion, who you are, what you're all about, what you do, and what people can expect when doing business with you. That's what this does. That's what all the examples I've shown you do. And that's what we're in the process of doing for you. I think we've just started your identity process. Is that right?
That's correct. I think we're scheduled for a call tomorrow afternoon, actually.
Yeah, so I'll be reviewing that identity myself, making sure that it's got the power and the precision and all that, and we'll have a grand old time. But, you know, if you've got a deadline and you ran this other ad with the oh, where was it? Where was that thing? Well, anyway, you know where it was. If you run that ad, I wouldn't say, hey, don't do that, it's dumb. But, you know, as your identity comes into focus, then you want to start using that as much as possible. Don't assume that because it's a high-end magazine that the people are automatically a bunch of snobs who won't read anything and who just only want to see aesthetically beautiful things or else they're going to die. We can obviously make any message that we create aesthetically pleasing, but we want to communicate our identity first and foremost.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that would be my advice to you on that. I think you had two things here, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a little web banner, and this right here actually opens a whole other can of worms and further discussion on whether or not to offer specials, which we are teetering on the fence about. But at the end of the day, we are offering specials right now, and right now we're doing a 20% off or 5 years no interest deal. And I just, with the web banners, we struggle with the design process a little bit. And Christian, our marketing coordinator, is sitting in here with me, and she designs the web banners. And, she and I go back and forth on how they should look and feel. And I just want to make sure that we're clearly communicating what we're wanting to do and that it looks nice and has a nice image. So I just wanted some feedback on how this particular offer looked as far as our web banner.
Well, first of all, I mean, this is a common problem. Web banners are little billboards, and billboards by definition have very few words, and they're hard to write. The less space you have and the fewer words you have to utilize, the harder it is to communicate powerfully. That's just life, right?
Right.
So don't get discouraged by that. I kind of look at these billboards and say, okay, what is it that I want to communicate? First of all, this says home show special. What website would this be running on? Would it be something that the home show would be relevant in, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. The only relevance to the home show is the timing and what we chose to title the special. And, at the same time, we have television ads that say Holco is celebrating this year's home show with 20% off or 5 years no interest. So it was, I guess, more of an attempt to tie together what's being seen on television along with the fact that the home show just came through a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I would make this general assumption that the vast majority of people aren't going to have any clue about any home show.
Okay.
So they might look at this and say, home show special. What? Why? What? Do I have to be there? When's the home show? What?
I gotcha.
It could actually throw them off a little bit. Again, this is the curse of knowledge. We talked about it in the last ad where the magazine and the award and the distinction means a lot to you, but most people really wouldn't know what it was without studying a little bit. Same thing goes here. I mean, you know what the home show is, and it's a big part of what you do in your life and all that stuff, but the average guy sitting there knows what a home show is. They're not, clueless, but they don't understand why the home show is being brought up in this environment. It doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah, that makes sense now that you say that.
So what we've got to do is look at this and say, well, what do we want to communicate to people? And again, this is part of this identity scenario. I want people to know, who we are and what we stand for and what we do. If you want to offer this kind of an offer, I think that's just fine. I mean, 20% off or 5% interest for 0 years is good. What I would recommend is this. I would recommend that you, first of all, let's get really, really nitty-gritty for just a minute here, okay? You've got a pretty hard-to-read font stuffed into a pretty hard-to-read space, okay?
I wish you hadn't have said that, because I always fight with Christian and tell her to put everything in Arial, and she's laughing at me right now because I told her to put this in this font. So,
well, here's the problem with this font. It's a very tall and skinny font, so you've crammed a lot of stuff into a little amount of space, which is good because it allows you to cram a bunch of stuff, but it's bad because it makes it hard to read.
Okay.
So, and then I know you want a brand, and I know you want people to see your logo, but it's really oppressive in this ad. It's too much. You're making people see your logo at the expense of seeing anything else. I would rather take a different approach. The approach I would rather take is saying something that's easy to read and interesting, and then have them go, oh, that's Holco that's saying that, instead of punching them in the face with Holco, and then that's pretty much all they got out of this ad was the punch in the face. Now, that sounds negative. Hey, this Holco had reached out of their computer screen and punched them in the face, and now they hate us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it squashed the rest of the ad.
No, what you're saying makes sense.
So I might just, let's just take this extraordinarily simple approach. And we're not even going to talk about identity in this ad. We're just going to talk about this offer. And I want you to hear me, you and everybody else that's on this call. It's okay to have an offer. It really is. It's okay to only have an offer on an ad. What I had said earlier is I don't like campaigns that are always only focused on an offer. But I'm a big fan of taking offers and using them in fits and spurts and, for power and to get some phones to ring. It's okay. So if we took this, I might actually flip it around. I might put windows, doors, siding, decking, roofing at the top, and then I might get rid of the word home show special and put 20% off or 5 years, 0% interest, and then maybe in smaller but still easy to read below that, something like our best offer of the year, hurry, ends March 31st, and then your Hulco logo down on the right-hand side, filling up less space, but still, there and visible. It's not like people aren't going to see it. That's probably what I would do. Because This is a good offer, 20% off or 5 years, 0 interest. I mean, I think people can recognize that as that's a pretty good offer because they're gonna compare it against other things that they're familiar with. So when you see 5% for 0 interest, and you start thinking about windows and siding, they know that those are pretty expensive projects. And if you're offering 5% or 0% interest, that's pretty clear that that's a good deal. That's not just a bullcrap throwaway offer. I mean, you tell me. To me, that looks like a genuinely good deal. 5 years, 0 interest? Crap.
Well, we started offering it that way because, the car industry spent a whole lot of time and money doing 5 years no interest on vehicles, and you put new siding and windows in your house, that's a lot of times about the similar cost of a vehicle, so we thought it would be appealing to people, and it's been pretty attractive and well received.
I think it's a great offer. I really do, and so I want it to be more prominent and easy to read on this ad, okay?
I got you. Makes total sense.
So maybe you even come up there at the top, 20% off, 5 years, 0% interest, extend that across the entire width of the whole ad, and then below that maybe windows, door, siding, whatever, hurry, offer ends March 31st, and then your logo, at the bottom. I mean, it's easy to lay it out.
I got you. Yeah, I think Christian's nodding her head. I think that's something we can very easily tweak and do.
Okay, good. Christian, we're on the same page here.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good. What else?
That's it. Just those two for now. So, thanks for the feedback and comments.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to put you on mute. There you go. Thanks for attending today, and I'm going to flip over now to Chase. Hey, Chase.
Hey, Rich.
What's going on?
Morning. Not too much. What's going on with you?
Oh, T-Mac,
Hey, so last week we looked over the ad that was made that Chad and Don put together, and now when they call in, I want to make sure that we're maximizing the phone calls that are coming in. Because I've got a call recording system, it tells me where the phone calls are coming from, so I know when they're calling the phone number that's on the thing, on the ad. And I've listened to them, and they just, my front desk staff, some of them just struggle. So I created a script. I said, look, you've got to read this script exactly, get to know it, and don't sound like you're reading something, but, this is the flow I'd like for it to go, so that we're maximizing, we're getting the questions answered in the right way, we're focusing on the right things, and trying to close the maximum amount of sales. So
okay.
I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I saw your ad for the $99 lashes. Do you have any left? Is that actually a common thing that people ask? Do you have any left?
That's because on the ad it says there's only so many left. Yeah, actually almost all of them ask that question. It's really funny.
Yeah, this is just we'll get back to the script in just a second. There's an interesting word that you might want to start throwing around, and maybe we can talk about how to throw it around. But here's an interesting thing. Wait list.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know exactly how we use this and, you know, whatever, but I've been thinking a lot about this lately. Not your lash program, but this use of scarcity. And I can't remember where this idea originated. I mean, the scarcity obviously is part of what we talk about at MYM, and you know, not that it's exclusive to us, but it's a pretty common tool. But I saw something. I think it was a store. Can't remember what it was, but it was only open one day a week. And I thought, what a great marketing ploy. This store is open one day a week. Take it or freaking leave it. If you don't like it, we don't care. And it sort of builds this, you know, scarcity. Hey, I got to get to the store at a certain time, right? And so I've been thinking a little bit about this scarcity and some different ways to use it. And I like that you're already using it. You know, only a few left. It might be interesting. Please indulge me, Chase, because I'm just kind of going off on a tangent here. I'm not saying, hey, go put this in your script immediately. But it might be interesting if somebody calls in and says, hey, I was going to see if we have a few members, if you have any memberships left. If you say, you know what, we're full, but we're waitlisting. If that was your first response, because if you're full but waitlisting, guess what happens now?
Right.
They immediately feel like, oh my gosh, this is so popular that I can't even get in. Now I want in even more. Now you'd have to work through that, you know, how you actually deal with this. Oh, hey, we had a cancellation, we can get you in, or the wait list, you know, is contingent upon not necessarily somebody dropping off, but us getting more technicians. You know, I don't know. It'd be interesting, but I think it would be fun to give them a little slap in the face right when they call in and tell them, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, we're going to have to wait list you. But then to find a way to get them in immediately. But let's go ahead and read your script. Just keep that in mind for, you know, future use. We have a few Lash memberships left at the $99 rate. Let me explain a little bit about the membership. It's designed to give you exactly the look you want without any extra hassles or extra cost. Your Lash membership, your membership includes your first full set of lashes with any look you would like. We do not bill by the lash, but charge one set fee to make you as happy as we can. Your first appointment will be between 90 minutes and 3 hours, depending on how many lashes you decide you'd like. As part of the membership, we include all of the maintenance required to keep you looking awesome. The maintenance is simple. Let me explain. Now, here's what I would do. I like this. I mean, this is good. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you know, this is a bad script. It's not. It's a good script. The only thing I would recommend is maybe reformatting a little bit to make it easier for your people to remember it, because that's going to be your struggle here. So watch this.
To make it shorter?
Not necessarily shorter, just reformatted. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, now all I'm doing, whoops, didn't mean to do that, meant to do that. I'm putting this in a way that makes it easy for your person to wrap their arms around. And in fact, I'm going to do this. Watch this. Okay? So now if they mess up the beginning, we want them to remember this. Okay, we have a few Lash memberships left at the $99 rate. Let me explain about the membership. Now, if they forgot to say our membership is designed to give you exactly the look you want without any extra hassles or costs, that's okay. I mean, ideally they'd remember that, but even if they forget that, now if I come down here and I say, look, I need you to remember 1, 2, and 3, if I can get them to memorize the underlined stuff, which is pretty easy, then they're going to get it. And even if they're reading this script, this is going to be a lot easier to get all the points, okay? See how this works? Okay, so there's basically, I'm not saying I did this exactly right because I'm not paying as close attention to this as you will.
Got it. Just reformat it, make it easier to remember, read, highlight.
Well, I mean, so here's what we're doing. Your script is good. It says all the things that you want people to know. It's just now a matter of how do I get this executed so it actually works, and this is the answer right here.
Okay.
I learned this trick years ago. Trying to get people to memorize scripts is like pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what I would do. How many different people answer the phone?
I try to keep it down to 2.
All right. Seeing how this works?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different point, so I'm going to put it on a different line. Okay. Okay. So now, here's what you do. You give this to your 2 people, and you say, I'm going to give you 24 hours to memorize this. Okay? Not a week, not 3 days. I'm going to give you 24 hours to memorize this. I'm going to give you a quiz tomorrow. It's currently 11:12 a.m. I'm going to give you 24 hours. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., I'm going to meet with you, and I'm going to quiz you on this. You're going to give me the script. I'm going to call in. We're going to role play it, and if you get it right, I'm going to give you this $25 gift card to Chili's. So you can go have a date with your boyfriend or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And give it to them in this format. And then I would quiz them on it, and then they'll get this very quickly.
Okay.
But see, that's a lot different than take your original script and say, hey, here's the script I want you to use.
Right.
And then they go, okay, and then they start trying to read it. See, this encourages them to learn the main point so that they don't have to read it. So it comes across more natural.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, I've had a version of the script for about, since we started this thing, because I realized initially right off the bat that it was an issue because they start focusing in on the price and the cancellation fee. That's the first thing they talk about. So we went to the script, and then they read the script, and then sure enough, they panic and start talking about the price and the cancellation fee. So finally I said, look, this is a script. You got to read it verbatim. Like, just read it, and you will do that. We will make more sales than. It was just frustrating. But I think trying to get them to go in this flow, remember these things kind of in this order. Just talk about the benefits first, the pricing last.
Now, let me ask you this. What's your conversion ratio right now?
It's probably, in the 80%. I haven't
okay, so it's healthy.
Got an exact number. But it's good, yeah. I mean, shooting for 100, but yeah,
okay.
Good.
All right. If it was down, 50, 40, something like that, we might go into some additional measures. But since it's already high, I mean, you've got people calling in asking if there's any slots left. The ad tells them essentially all of this information anyway.
It does, yeah. I mean, they're sold when they call. It's just like, basically, I need the phone for the desk person just to get out of the way and book the appointment.
Yeah.
And the person wants the appointment. They almost talk them out of it in some ways. So that's where I wanted to systematize it to where, it covers everything one more time and says, okay, let's book your appointment. But
when they come in, do you have them sign an agreement?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'm going to shoot this over to you.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
All right, there it goes.
Appreciate it.
Well, you wrote it. I just reformatted it. I did the easy part. But trust me when I say this. This will make all the difference in the world. This breaks it down. This is no different than marketing, where the whole issue is readability. What we've done is we've taken your script and we've made it readable and therefore usable for the people that you want to master it, okay?
Okay.
By the way, I would continue to spot check them on using this. I would do mystery calls at least once or twice a week,
Okay.
and I would make sure that they're doing it right, because I promise you they will drift from this script. Even if they master it, even if they memorize it, even if they get great at it, they will drift, because that's human nature. So
I'm thinking about putting an incentive in place for them to close the sale. I mean, that can't be a bad thing, right?
Well, you know what I would do? I would say, here's what I would do. I would tell them, look, first of all, I want you to memorize this. Boom. Next, I want you to know that we're going to mystery shop you at least 5 times a month. And I'm going to have different people do it, and you're never going to know. And I would reward them on how they do when they're mystery shopped.
Okay.
Or something, I don't know. You figure out the details, but
Yep.
or maybe based on sales, whatever. If they're already closing 80%, you may not need to necessarily incentivize them a whole lot. You just want them to use the script the right way. I don't know. You figure that out, but it's a good idea.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All righty, and that brings us to our final participant, which is Drew. Let me find you on here, Drew. Oh, first let me mute out Chase. Drew, there you are. Okay, now Drew, I've got you on a microphone here. That doesn't necessarily always work. We'll try it though. Drew, are you there? Yeah, Drew, the voice over IP microphone is typically not a workable solution. What I'm going to need you to do is hang up and dial in using the phone protocol if you can, and then we'll be able to talk to you. Sorry about that. I'll give you just a second to do that. Okay, Drew, are you doing that? Hello, Drew. Earth calling Drew. Come in, Drew. All right, Drew, I guess we're going to have to pick you up on the back end. Unless you can dial in on a phone, this is not going to work. Okay. Anybody else have something you want to talk about? We got a lot of people on here, but most of you are also on microphone. You could type something in. Give Drew just another second to dial in. Drew, can you even type something in so I know you're there? Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. Now we're making progress. There we go. All you got to do now, yep, there you go. Drew, gotcha.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I thought I did it right the first time, but I guess not.
You totally messed up. I mean,
I know. I figured I did.
No, thanks for dialing in on the phone. Apologize for that delay there. Okay, what do we got going for you today? Let me pull up what you've submitted.
Okay, just so you know, it's me, Steve, and Nancy here. I might have to duck out for a lunch meeting, but all three of us know what we're talking about today. So.
Okay, I've got your letter on the screen.
Yeah, what we do with that letter that you see right there, Rich, is we have our installers on the final day of installation, when going over all the paperwork, final paperwork and payment. They also go over our referral program and this letter. And we get about 75 to 80% of our clients who actually sign this letter stating that we can use their name, address, and phone number to send a letter out on their behalf to their 100 nearest customers, or nearest neighbors, I'm sorry, in their neighborhood. And so this letter comes out from them, basically, in a handwritten type font. And, oftentimes we'll include an offer in the back because there's a PS that says, on the actual letter that says, I've included some offer from Energy Swing. And we did this a few years ago did really well with it, especially during the tax credit time. That's the finished letter right there that we would send out to 100 people in the neighborhood. It's all personalized. Even the address on the envelope matches this font.
Right.
Did it really well during the tax credit time. It doesn't cost very much, so we don't need to be flooded with it to be effective. We just started doing them again last week. We sent 100 out, got a lead. I mean, if you could send out for every 300 or 400, if we got a lead, we'd be more than satisfied.
Yeah.
For the cost of it, we're just trying to look at a way to see maybe the actual text, the actual copy, a little more impactful.
Well, let me give you my first impression of this.
Sure.
Number one, I like this a lot. I mean, this is something that we recommend our clients do in conjunction with our super robust proximity marketing program. We typically are going to do postcard mailer, postcard mailer, postcard mailer, check mailer, testimonial mailer, just like this, okay? One thing to consider is I like this. I'm sure you're already doing this. You send it in an envelope with the regular stamp, with the handwritten font, with the return address of the customer, so that when the person gets it in their mailbox, they look at it and say, hey, this is from somebody that lives on the street next door. I don't really know this person's name, but I recognize this address. I wonder why they're sending me a piece of mail. Let me open it and find out. True enough?
Exactly.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there. I'm not necessarily on the same page using the handwritten font on the inside letter, okay? Because
do you think we should make it like a typed, typical
type?
Well,
there's a couple reasons. Reason number one is, I think what you're about to say is it kind of comes across as it's obviously written by a computer. So, does that maybe even backfire on me that I try to make it look handwritten when clearly it's not handwritten? This is kind of like a laugh track in a sitcom, right?
Sure.
I don't know that that's a big issue. I think the bigger issue is my second point I want to make, which is it's really just kind of hard to read.
Okay.
So you look at this, dear, John, as you may have seen, I recently had work done on my home. I had energy swing windows, put in new windows, and it's pretty hard to read this font. Now, here's what I'm not saying. Wow, this is an impossible font to read, and I can't believe you picked this font. But it's not super easy to read either. So let me show you an example of one that I've done. Let me pull this up over here off camera for a minute. Where is this thing? Whoops, that's not the right one. Numbers. Let's see, where would I find that thing? I got it coming here. Just give me a second.
No problem.
All right, this is actually the same customer that we saw earlier in the call, Freelight. So this would come in the same envelope that we just agreed was the best way to do it. But now it comes, it's a little bit easier to read. November 14th from Joe Stevens, 1221 Tyler Street, Southlake. Now, the reason I put that there at the top is to remind them, hey, this is not a form letter that's just, mass-produced, which it technically kind of is still anyway. But I've got their attention where it says from Joe Stevens, 1221 Tyler Street. And again, just not necessarily for your benefit, but for those on the call who haven't thought through this like you have. The idea here is to get people to say, you know what, I don't really know who Joe Stevens is, because they probably don't. But I know where Tyler Street is. I don't know where 1221 is, but I know that that's the street that's one or two over. Mm-hmm. That's close to me. And I want them to say to themselves, why is Joe sending me a letter? Because it's a reasonable question.
Sure.
Who is this Joe and why is he sending me a letter? R.E. If you've even thought about replacing your windows, read this letter. Dear neighbor, I've never sent a letter like this before, and I'll probably never send one again. So I'm taking the objections to this letter, and I'm addressing them right up front. I recently had my windows replaced from a company called Freelight. They asked me if I'd be willing to send a testimonial letter to my neighbors if I was pleased with the job. Normally, I probably would have said no thanks, but I have to tell you, I really did have an extraordinary experience. Now, you can read the rest of the letter, and you can see that I get into identity points, right?
Yeah.
Number one, it's easier to read. You'll notice that I've used very short paragraphs, really short paragraphs. I want to make this as easy to read as humanly possible. But number two, there's always going to be the elephant in the room with this letter, whether it's the version you had or the version I have or the version that anybody else could think of, which is, this is really weird that this person is sending me this letter about this company.
Right.
I mean, it's just a weird thing, okay? And so clearly it's some sort of thing that this company is having this person send to me. Clearly this letter is coming, you know, as a result of the urging of this company. So this is all kind of out there. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just simply acknowledging it. I'm simply stating, yeah, that's true. You're right. So that it doesn't have this sort of fabricated feel to it. It actually becomes more authentic when we acknowledge those things, I think.
Yeah, I like the way those first three paragraphs, it does cover that. We've got a mixed reaction to them. Sometimes people call and aren't happy we did it, first of all, but that's going to happen no matter what we do. But oftentimes we get people to call, they really believe it's a letter from their neighbor. Generally, they're older clientele that believe that. And some people call and say, well, I got your marketing employee in the mail, but they still call.
Yeah.
They still call. It still got a response, even if they know it was a marketing employee. It still generated a response oftentimes. So, but I like the way you kind of take that stuff on head on right off the bat.
Well, look at this paragraph. Normally, I would have probably said no thanks, but I have to tell you, I really did have an extraordinary experience. And if you've considered replacing your windows, I can wholeheartedly recommend this company. This is an honest approach, right?
Yeah,
hey,
I like that. I mean, I'd like to do something like this, and maybe even test them side by side to see what we get. I mean, I like the approach you have here.
Yeah, I'll give you the commentary of what this is really saying. Okay, here's what it's really saying. I'm not a nut that sends crap like this to my neighbors, but they asked me to do it, and you know what? It really was a good experience. So all things considered, if you happen to be thinking about it, well, yeah. I recommend these guys. Then here's what's interesting. Look at this next one. Freelight, what? Claims. See, I've taken sort of a skeptical take on this. I haven't said, here's what Freelight does. They claim that they free you from all the usual problems associated with dealing with home improvement contractors, things like high sales pressure, pricing games, unmet promises, and so forth. I want you to know that's exactly what happened. My experience was as follows. Here's what happened. No short sales meeting, 45 minutes or so. Other companies stay 2 to 3 hours. Now, this customer may not actually even know that because they may not have experienced that, but I don't care. What I'm counting on is that the person receiving the letter probably doesn't know that, so I've got to make that comparison. You know, no pricing games. They give you a price in writing, then stick with it, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, and, you know, this is keeping with the tone of this letter. Hey, I know that this letter is going on and you probably are tired of reading it. So, you know, anyway, let me wrap this up. It's kind of what that's saying.
Sure.
So thinking about replacing your windows, give these guys a call. Who? These guys. Why these guys and not Freelight? Well, because it's informal. They were great to work with. You can reach Chip Marvin, the owner, by calling his number. Tell him I said to call. If you have any other questions, feel free to call me or email me. You know, maybe your customers will or will not let you put that on there. If they do, great. If not, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe Stevens.
Yeah, we could even put where you have the highlighted yellow part there. We could even put our client consultant who worked with that client, you know, rather than the owner, depending on who the.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying. So if you've got 7 salesmen, you obviously don't want everybody calling Steve Rennenkamp.
Right. Now, is this something that I know it's somebody else's work? Is this something you could send us so I can use as a template, or are you not comfortable doing that? Or?
Am I not comfortable doing that? How well do you know me, Drew?
Pretty well.
It is on its way right now.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Rich.
Yeah, use it, man. Again, what we typically recommend. Now, this is one of those things, okay? So just kind of take this as information and then put it in your own pipe and smoke it and see how it tastes to you, okay? I recommend that you test, keyword test, the following. Super robust proximity marketing. Get your job site sign out. I'm sure that you already do that. Sure. Get a take one box with an identity-based flyer in that take one box. You may or may not already do that. Send a postcard, send another postcard, send another postcard, send a check mailer. It's more likely to get opened. Number 3, no, excuse me, 1, 2, 3. Then number 4 is a check mailer. 5, send this mailer. Then take the big bill. Were you on the call earlier when we talked about canvassing with the big bill?
Yeah, we really like that a lot.
Take the clipboard that's got the 100 addresses that you've mailed the 5 mailers to, give it to a single canvasser, give him a bunch of those bills, and have him go around the neighborhood using the same script, using the same bill. If he knocks on 100 doors, let's say he talks to 30 people, he makes a note what the result was. We set an appointment. The guy said, go to Hades. The guy, parents weren't home, whatever. The next day, 2 days later, whatever, send them out again. Put a dollar bill on everyone's door that didn't answer the phone. Didn't answer the door, then go back again and have him re-canvass the 70 doors that didn't open. Now he gets 15 more. Have him go back 2 or 3 days later and canvass the 55 that didn't answer on the first 2 attempts, and every time leaving another dollar bill.
Oh, that makes sense, an all-out campaign with those 100 people or however many we have, but yeah.
Here's the deal. This takes time, it takes coordination, and it takes money. So I strongly recommend that you test it, but here's what I also strongly recommend, that you test it with all of the pieces in place. And as you start to canvass, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get a resolution from all 100 of those people, or at least the majority of those 100 people. And the resolution is either going to be no or yes. And if the answer is no, hey, no problem. You know what? Out of 100 people, 90-something of them just legitimately are not going to buy anything from me right now. They're just not.
Right.
I mean, go knock 100 doors and see how many people want to buy a new car. Probably 5 right now. And 95 don't need one right now or don't want one right now, whatever. But out of those people that want one, we're going to have a chance to get in their face. We're going to have a chance to talk to them. We're going to have a chance to give them an opportunity to tell us no, but on the condition of having quite a bit of information that we've sent them and given them and made available to them. So anyway, that's kind of how I like that thing to work.
Rich, one quick question. Would you recommend maybe a postcard mailing before we go to the job site? Like, say, the week before we're scheduled to be there, or the week of we're scheduled to be there?
You know what?
Maybe start it all off?
I try not to get too hung up on the timing because, number one, it's really hard to time. Number two, how many different kinds of things do you sell? Well, you just do windows. The timing would suggest that there's going to be a truck in front of somebody's house that's going to be noticed by people. And if that's the case, then great. If it's not the case, I mean, how long does the average install take for you guys?
2 or 3, sometimes one day, depending on the size of the job. Yeah.
How many hours of trucks in front of houses?
Yeah, 8 hours in a day, so 16 hours maybe, 24 hours.
Okay, so that's pretty good. So if you can time it around that, great. I wouldn't get obsessed with timing it. I would say, look, we're scheduled to go out and install, next Wednesday. Today it's Tuesday, so we got, 8 days. If you can make these 3 postcards, these mailers, these 5 mailers show up around the time of the install, I'm good with that. Now, if you can get more precise, go for it. But here's my experience. It's just a big pain in the butt to try to time that. And when's the mail going to hit? And when do I got to drop it? And, as long as it's in the general time frame and as long as the testimonial mailer comes after the job.
Yeah. I guess the question is, do you see a value in, like, a pre-installation proximity versus after the job's already been installed?
No.
Do you see it, like, trying to let people aware that your truck's going to be in the neighborhood to be on the lookout, or this house, this address, so that they can maybe be on the lookout that week if they are interested in windows?
Well, I mean, they wouldn't, quote unquote, be on the lookout, but you may get their reticular activator to see it. Okay. Whereas before they might drive by it and not see it. But again, let's think about the reality of this. Hey, look for our truck. Well, you know what? I really, I don't care about your truck. I really don't. I'm not trying to be mean or rude. I'm just telling you the fact. I really don't care about your truck. If I happen to need windows, if you've got an interesting message, then I'm interested in that. And if I happen to see your truck, fantastic. And if you can time it, that's okay too. But, you can get just as much bang for the buck by saying, hey, we're going to be, or by not saying, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood, and simply saying, hey, your neighbor is getting windows from us, and not being so sensitive about the time.
Okay. That makes sense. I appreciate it, Rich.
Yeah, let me show you a couple stuffs here real quick.
Okay.
Give me just a second to find this. Oh, what's this guy called? Taylor and Young. Trying to find this. Give me just one more. I may not be able to find it. Let me just look at one more thing real quick here.
Sure.
My problem is I got too much stuff. It's hard to find it all the time. Okay, here we go. This is a company called Taylor and Young. This is the guy that we call the window nerd.
Okay, yeah, I remember him.
So this would be an example of some postcards. 2 ways to get a window quote, arm twisting, which do you prefer, get a quote over the phone. This is actually the one that I would send first probably. The Johnsons at 1231 just bought their windows from the window nerd. Great windows with all the sales. And of course we would introduce your identity, not his, obviously.
Yeah.
How many miles per gallon? You know, so I'm going to probably send this one first so that they see, and I might even integrate the address of the other person on all three of them. I just need to think through that a little bit. Then we come in with the check mailer. Let me see if I can find that thing. Well, I can't find it right now. Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Identity based. Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions?
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Rich. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. And I know it's kind of a pain to wait. Thanks.
It's all right. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye, Steve.
Bye.
All right, and that's it. We'll go ahead and wrap up there. Thanks for participating, and we'll talk to you Thursday. We're going to do a webinar about innovation featuring Mr. Walt Disney. So we'll talk to you then. Bye now.